2 years after the terror attacks, much of the nation's most critical infrastructure remains largely unprotected. That's according to the government's own studies, which looked at things like power plants, ports, and gas tank farms, just to name a few. But now, as Fox 13's Warren Ellie reports, some Bay Area energy plants are packing their own heavy weapons and intelligence teams.
In this promotional video, they're called ATOs for anti-terrorism officers, military and law enforcement veterans, heavily armed and trained to do what no other private security can.
It is not just a job, it is the security of life, property, and the quality of life, peripherally, of hundreds of thousands of people.
Be obvious about it.
750 applied, 32 made it.
We're all in the military, we all served our country, now we're serving in a different way.
Blasting caps can be recognized by the fact that
they've gone through 250 hours training on everything from bombs to hand-to-hand combat.
He hits me, and I come back and start going in on him. What happens to his mindset?
Just deployed teams of heavily trained, heavily armed ATOs are now guarding 4 key Tampa electric power plants. An attack TECO admits could cause a massive power blackout and hundreds of millions in economic losses.
We're sending a message to the bad guy. You know what? Don't come here.
TECO began the buildup after federal test assaults found half the nation's nuclear plants could not stop terrorists.
When we're talking about power plants, ammonia facilities, ports, all these places are places that you need specialized training in dealing with terrorism. And right now, that's lacking.
One of Critical Intervention's innovations is CETAS, a tracking system that, among other things, can bring together the intelligence of all of the agents from various installations to look for patterns, vehicles, people that show up here and there. That kind of early detection and intelligence gathering can stop something, they say, before it happens.
The National Guard has their assignment. Police deputies have their assignment. PD has their assignment. We need people who are trained, who are ready, who know our people, our property, and our practices.
And more ATOs are coming. The next class starts in February. Warren Ellie, Fox 13 News.
And this may be the best news of all. The new 5-year, multi-million-dollar contract with TECO will not cost TECO customers anything extra. All the funding, the company says, is already in the budget.
Tonight, TECO is taking action against terror. In a matter of hours, the electric company will begin using armed patrols to make sure our power plants are secure from any terrorist attacks that could leave us in the dark. ABC Action News reporter Chris Martinez joins us live now with the story. Chris, by TECO's own standards, they thought that they were too vulnerable?
That's right, Lisa. The changes in security come on the heels of a company commission report that showed right now TECO's power plants are very vulnerable for a terrorist attack. Well, after reviewing that report, company officials, they decided that in a new era of threats, they were overdue for a new kind of security. For decades, guards have kept a close watch on visitors and the entire property at TECO plants like this one. Problem is, in a post-9/11 world, unarmed guards with little anti-terrorism training are no longer enough. That's why starting early Monday morning, a new breed of power plant guards will man positions around TECO's 4 power plants.
What we're trying to do is prevent some kind of man-made disaster from occurring that would knock out power to the Tampa Bay area.
Under the new plan, at any given time, a force of 36 guards will patrol the plants. Those new guards are authorized and ready to use force to prevent problems. The anti-terrorism guards will be armed with handguns and semi-automatic rifles and monitor the plants 24 hours a day. TECO officials say the best part of this new security force is that it won't cost consumers a cent.
Proper budgeting. I mean, we were able to budget this and implement this strategy without any increase in costs.
Critical Intervention Services is the group that trained the new guards. The anti-terrorism squad is made up of ex-military and ex-law enforcement officers. And when they begin their rounds at 6 o'clock tomorrow morning, they will be accompanied by new surveillance cameras and new sensors at all of the plants. Lisa?
Thank you, Chris. TECO's power plants are the first non-nuclear plants like this one for decades, in the state to be patrolled by armed security guards.
Tampa Electric is stepping up security at its power plants with a first-of-its-kind homeland security effort in Florida. Beginning today, anti-terrorism officers armed with handguns and semi-automatic rifles are patrolling TECO's power plants in Hillsborough and Polk counties. They're stationed at Big Bend near Apollo Beach, Port Sutton near the Port of Tampa, and the Polk Power Station around the clock. As News Channel 8's Yolanda Fernandez reports, TECO is among the first in the nation to implement this level of security at a power plant.
These are no ordinary security guards. This training video shows 250 hours of hands-on exercises it took to certify these anti-terrorism officers. Their assignment, Tampa Electric Company.
They've received training in anti-terrorism, identification of explosive devices, search techniques, level 3 hazmat response in the event of a hazmat situation in a facility.
Casey Pullen is the head of Critical Intervention Services, a Clearwater company that trains law enforcement and security for all over the country. Pullen says the key for TECO security is prevention.
And I'll tell you that they did not spare anything to make sure that this was done right. This is months and months of training and planning that went into this.
The officers use high-tech equipment and semi-automatic rifles to patrol TECO's 3 plants and other facilities.
While all power plants are potential terrorist targets, TECO has special concerns. Its Bayside plant here at Port Sutton, for example, is right next to the Port of Tampa and across from MacDill Air Force Base and Central Command.
TECO spokesperson Ross Bannister says the company's old security was okay for trespassing and theft, but not terrorism.
We needed to be able to respond appropriately. We needed to be able to meet force with force if it came to that.
A force not seen before outside the military or law enforcement.
They're the first to be trained at that level in the private sector, no question about it.
Yolanda Fernandez, News Channel 8.
TECO hired CIS to assess its security risk. The new security force is a result of those recommendations. 750 people applied for the positions. Only a few dozen passed all the requirements. And Yolanda was telling me most of those who did pass have a background either in the military or law enforcement.